Okay, can you do that again, Sandra? Could you just do the intro again? Yeah. Well, this brave new world is full of cowards and liars, of Holocaust deniers, all second guesses, second amendments, who'll defend the new defendants. In this brave new world is not for the faint of heart, for the lovers of the starving artists. It's for the worms and the snakes and the rats and varmints, boys who can't keep their rage in their undergarments. Well, now I just have to ask if you're an anti-fascist, then yeah, you do the math. Oh, we're gonna dance in the ashes till compassion is a fashion and live with open hearts. We're gonna weaponize affection, gonna march in a new direction. We're gonna dance in the ashes till compassion is a fashion and live with open hearts. We're gonna starve that infection, gonna march in a new direction. To this brave new world is somewhere on the map. Yeah, no one has to ask, oh, what's the answer? That's the question, a ballot or a bullet or an insurrection. Yeah, you gotta plant that flag and make some choices, raise some hell and raise your voices. Your voices, oh your voices, your voices, a bell and a bomb. Thank you, welcome to the beautiful Tap Center for Creativity. I'm gonna get super creative tonight. I can feel it. That whole thing about that was working. That was just a bit of theater. Just being creative, people. This is a song off a record called Shakespeare My Butt. Who was here last night for Subversives, the history of Lowest of the Low? Did you learn anything that you didn't already know? I'll take that as a yes. What you might not have known from watching that movie is that this song that I'm about to play, which is on Shakespeare My Butt, is one of two songs that predate Lowest of the Low and were popular front songs. This one is called The Taming of Caroline. Caroline's a piece of coal in a world with a lust for diamonds. She really likes to dance and never gets a chance to realize her goals, and no one knew this more than I did. Caroline, please focus in. She's tired of all the street fighting, but when will it ever end? She practically missed that dream train. I think she's ready to believe the best years of her life are behind her now. Where do you think she got that idea? From that one place, a certain someplace. How does it feel? Well, you got more than a bit part in this place she's in. Oh no, the taming of Caroline. Oh, na 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 na. Na 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 na. Put a price on what she's learned, a subtle twist in her position. Her mother's worst fears I confirm. She's taken off with some musician. What kind of life is that for the child of a doormat? Other fathers are hitting baseballs. Well, her dad was hitting the sauce. With every moment starts a war. What was gained and what was lost? Can't you see? Well, you're asking for something she can't be. Can't you see? Some things are solid gold. We thought we were only 10. And though she prefers Carolina, everybody seems to call her Carolina. Carolina, when they bring you to tears, just put your fingers in your ears and scream na 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 na, 'cause you're just like me. Won't you take my hand and we'll be na 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 na. Thank you. We were talking about that record, Shakespeare My Butt, a while ago, and in the van, and I was telling my daughter about how, for some weird reason, I was like 24 or something like that, and I was full of piss and vinegar, and I was drunk a lot of the time. And this was a thing I would do at parties all the time. For some reason, I would get a knot in my knickers, and I would go on, they're like, fucking, Shakespeare, who gives a shit? It's like those stories would be told anyway. Those stories were told in other societies, If there was no Shakespeare, and of course, you can tell how intolerable it probably was. But then somebody, and then Lawrence said at some point, oh, and it's funny because you call the record Shakespeare My Butt, and then there's a song on there that references Shakespeare, and Dave said, what song? And he's like, The Taming of Carolyn. And so it's been 30 years until Dave realized that there was a song that referenced Shakespeare on Shakespeare My Butt. I'm not saying he's not well read, he's very well read. The night just taunts me and the morning isn't mine. I'm kneeling at the monument of hate you left behind, and lying next to you still feels like pulling off a crime. Blanket stained with guilt when your dreams are full of wine. There'll be a pistol at my head. Yeah, then an hour later, bullets praying at the temple of a three-penny operator. You could see the kamikazes and the lovers that you pick. She pulls neurotic rabbits from a basket full of tricks, and you lay with one eye open while the other gets some sleep. You trust that woman like the RCMP, 'cause she's going up a down escalator. Took the running gag, she's a three-penny operator. The moon-soaked our ways, yeah, the fresh air will do you well. And fill the jar up with pennies, Yeah, secrets you don't want to tell. Keep your pockets full, 'cause you never know when she'll return. When the keyhole clicks and the handle turns, who's driving this thing? There are spies working inside the love that you thought was bulletproof, and every time you smile with your eyes, your throat feels the noose. But I don't understand, I don't want to be your hangman. I don't understand, or I just want to be your lover. At least for the night, or till the stock market changes, or 2 cents worth from a 3-penny operator. Beeswax, cinnamon, and LSD. My friend's got pains where his butterfly should be, and the branches are out twisted, and the leaves in these trees, the taboos that have been lifted don't give any ease. So it's 1 shot for now, and 2 shots for later, when you're freezing in tequila like a 3-penny operator. Operator, won't you place this call? Oh, call, 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 yeah. And when will I ever learn? Creativity. Thank you very much. What a lovely place. It sounds, am I crazy or does it sound great in here? It's been 40 years of hammering these ears with different kinds of rock and roll, so I don't know. Sometimes I'm not sure if what I'm hearing is actually there. You guys are lovely as well. When all the roads you see from your door lead one way and the other way, and all the waves that crash on your shore carry sailors' bones from shipwreck days, when all those vicious handcuffed words constrict, contract, constrain, well, I'll meet you on the barricade in the cool, defiant rain. How when you and your brothers held on to your mothers, the story an unwritten page. While they read you the rules and she sent you to school, but she paid for the bars on your cage. So you played a poison violin in a symphony of rage. Now it's time you traded that fucker in for a place on the barricade. Laying around, shrug aside. How the seconds the jury, and the minutes the judge, and the hour of the barricade. Well, Now your green eyes and your battle cries are the sweetest warning, sir. But the only rain can dismantle this thing is the sound of a siren heard by the children of apostasy. Will rescue this wretched world. Yeah, they'll join their hands like a barricade, like an insolent fist full of pearls. Stay or go, for now or no. Oh, the week is the hangman, the month is the rope, and the year the barricade. Well, some vote with their heads and some vote with their hearts. Some vote with the end of their dicks. Well, you can vote with a ballot, you can vote with your wallet, but it's always a vote for the pricks. Yeah, so let me tell you this for free. My next vote's with a brick. Ah, from somewhere behind the barricade, beyond the lies and the rhetoric. And if I see you on the barricade, I'll be sure to shake your hand. Yeah, but I'll help you build your barricade on the grave of this sleepwalking land. Thank you very much. I wrote that song for a record called Agitpop, which some of you might have, but I had written it a few years before that, or a couple of years before that, and what I generally do is I do a lot of demoing, and then it goes in a folder on my computer, and it sits there for a while. But when I wrote that one, I thought, you know, the time we need a new Bob Dylan, and so I wrote this song, which was, you know, I recognize as very Dylan-esque in a protesty way, and I thought, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create a website called the Lost Dylan Protest Project, and I'm going to upload this song. And I sang it, the demo, I sang it like Dylan. And so I was going to do that to sort of challenge other songwriters, like, we need protest songs, guys, and Bob's not going to do it. Bob's really rich. He's in the pool right now. He's not writing protest songs, so we need people to write protest songs. So it just sat in a folder for a while, and then I forgot, or I went on with my life, and of course the website never happened, and I didn't get organized past writing the song, but it sat in a folder for a while, and then when Agitpop came up, I hit the band with about, 14, 15, 16 songs. Check it out, these would maybe be the ones on the record. And so they lived with them for a week, and then I was getting these emails like, yeah, great, that Barricade song is amazing. What the fuck is up with your voice? And I'm reading them like, wow, that's like elder abuse or something. Like, I don't know that my voice, it's like I'm getting 58, I'm an older man, maybe my voice is slipping a bit. Cut me some slack. Turned out I forgot that I had been singing it like Bob Dylan. And when I found it, when I re-listened to it, I was like, oh, yeah, I won't sing it like that, don't worry. So all was good. Well, no, then I had to fight with him about the next votes with a brick line. I actually had to fight with the producer as well. He was like, I don't know, man. I'm not sure that's a great message, And I was like, I get it, but I'm not necessarily condoning violence per se. What I'm saying is that, when we get together and, BLM summer, the union struggles that are going on right now, when we get together and we show some power, wow, that's weird. Things start to change for the good usually. But anyway, I talked him out of it. And I think what it was like I said, like, hey, man, I'm the fucking singer. I get to do whatever I want, right? That's not actually how it goes. This is a song from a record called Crack Static, and it's a song called Bite Down Hard. It goes like this here. Count on the end of your nose the one crime you perpetrated. Now it takes all your fingers and toes, and even still it isn't sated. That Bible full of junkies and tramps, that personal epistle, I think we all fell a little for that. We clocked out before the whistle and we scattered all our masculine dreams across the boulevard. Yeah, bite down on it. I've done it for the beauty, yeah. I've done it 'cause I'm hungry. I've done it out of duty, yeah. And I've done it for the money. You can denigrate the whole wide world. You bend your back and try to fix it, or you can frown and kick it over. Or you can down a 26er now. Here's a bottle of Burgundy and a bullet shot. Oh, bite down on it high. Yeah, one reprieve is all I need, and I believe in your room in the gray lit morning, warm hands, morning kisses, yawning. Stay in bed, let the day just fade away. You scan the schedule in the railway station, and you feel ashamed to be so young. Waiting, trust, respect, and admiration. The 3 lone trains that never come. The teeth you press to your bottom lip leave little half-moon scars. Bite down on it high. Push your fear to a place that fits, with twinkling tears of stars now. Bite down on it high. Bite down on it high. Thank you. You're gonna spoil me for the next show. I'm gonna expect this much applause everywhere I go. Tomorrow morning when I get up. Where's the applause? You guys were probably around what my daughter was when she was about 5. I was pontificating about something, and she just stood there looking at me like that, and I had this haircut that kind of went like this. And when I was finished talking, she said, "Okay, Justin Bieber." So, there's that. What do they call that? Counterbalance. Weights and measures. This is a song called Strum and Drag. Hey, hey, little red rum days, by the drag and the strum of bass, spent twiddling your thumb and the urge to reverse, but you're cursed if you do. Are you damned if you don't? Just another soul in the house of the damned if you do. Are you doomed if you won't? You're just another bucket in a leaky boat. Sweet little slave, pushing that pen up a page and day. And discreet little grace for you and everyone that you know. But time, now it ain't on your side, it yawns, and the chasm is wide from applause to sweet suicide, the deafening din of denial, tamping your style. Or you cover your ears, hush another candle while the fading years slip away. Are you sliding along, surfing on the rhythm of the bag and thumb, surfing on the drag and strum? It's like steel strings up your spine. You're underpaid, working overtime, and that chord's ringing all the while. Sing and stand and deliver, and then the shock and the shiver try. Hey, why must you always be such a D-I-P-S-H-I-T? Was it God, was it mom, or philosophy? Or did Darwin leave you back on the shore, holding that oar? Yeah, and humming that song, hum another little about the same old one like a stone. About an old dead dog, hum a little tune for the hollow haunted ones. Oh, that hallowed old hum, surfing on the rhythm of the dragon strum. Slip away, are you sliding along, surfing on the rhythm of the dragon strum? Surfing on the rhythm of the dragon strum. Are you humming to the rhythm of the dragon strum? Hey, hey! Thank you. Oh, Genevieve, this town is a guillotine. Sharp tongues like blades so mean they could bleed you blue. But all those neighborhood boys just wanna get in your corduroys. I can't blame them, but they missed the point with a girl like you. Oh, Genevieve. Oh, Genevieve. Hey there, Genevieve, you never had much use for me, but I'll keep you company until the ambulance comes. Cruel maps of railroad scars along the tracks of your pretty arms. Oh, how the hell did it get so hard just to take life as it comes? Oh, Genevieve, oh, my sweet Genevieve. No, don't do it. Don't climb your bedroom walls. And don't rise to it, 'cause you're smarter than them all. Yeah, and I always knew it, I just never had the guts to call. And so I hung up once or twice, my fingers cold as ice. And I left you all alone on the dark side of the phone. On the dark side. Hey, Jen, you know someday we ought to cut class and run away. We'll hop a Greyhound to Montreal and start us a band. 'Cause I've been known to play guitar. Oh, you could scream all the pretty parts. Cross your fingers, them city dogs don't tear us apart. Oh, Genevieve, oh, my sweet Genevieve. Oh, come on, hold on to me. Oh, my sweet Genevieve. I've got to say thank you to Lawrence Nichols for loaning me this guitar. You'd think after 40 or so years you would have it down, But Simon, who made the doc that was screened last night, he does front of house sound for us as well, and he has a big trailer. And after our show in Aurelia, he was like, "Hey guys, carting this gear back and forth, just put it in the trailer. I'll take it to my place, and and then we'll use it for the run next week. You guys won't have to cart everything around." Oh, amazing! So generous. Thank you, Simon. And then yesterday, I was like, "Oh fuck." I have that show where the band isn't with me. And Simon lives in like Orangeville or Saturn or something. So luckily Lawrence lives close to me. I was like, "Lawrence, can I borrow a guitar?" He said yes, and here we are. That's the kind of loyalty you get after 20, 30 years of playing with somebody. This is a song about mortality. Strangely enough, I was just talking with somebody about how the Stones are apparently into their 7th decade of making music. Isn't that equal parts incredible and just stop, guys? Fuck, man. And I'm not saying because they're old. I'm just saying because they ran out of ideas 4 decades ago. When we were on tour, when I was a younger man and we were touring with Lowest to the Low, our tour manager, I always have to do this because he, I would often throw a map at me and go, "I don't know, you fucking figure it out." So he wasn't doing a lot of tour managing, but he was our tour manager. There was a Steel Wheels tour. The Stones went on the Steel Wheels tour, which he used to call the Steel Wheelchairs tour. And it doesn't seem as funny to me now as it did when I was 29, but anyway, this is a song about mortality. It goes like this here. Well, our hearts are only 22. Our souls 105. There's a railway runs between the two, like the freight trains of our lives. And we tug our time like ragged sleeves, and our days we wear them thin. We scatter them like pumpkin seeds, oh, breath into the wind. Oh, and you know I don't believe in God, but I believe in you. From the roads down which we both have trod, to the nights that you pulled me through. Yeah, and you scream love like a battle cry. Oh, you shine love like a light. But you got that look in your eye, and there won't be no talking tonight. Yeah, there won't be no talking tonight. And some questions, they don't have question marks. There's some answers, they leave you in the dark. Some words feel more like broken bones until going home. Yeah, it don't feel like going home. Well, if you should ever go away, yeah, if you should lock your door, I know one crestfallen musketeer who ain't gonna smile no more. Yeah, my heart is only 22, but my soul's 105. I'll destroy this body when I'm through. In a way, my spirit will fly right before your eyes. Oh, but don't look to the sky. Thank you. How are you guys doing? We're about a seventh of the way through the set right now, so I asked for 70 spotlights, right? And I catch myself like, dude, you're being a rock star. Like, it's not reasonable, 70 spotlights. 5 is reasonable. in anybody's game. 5 is reasonable. Well, you used to be so hard to console. Now everything is under control. Well, do you like it like that? Well, I confide, I can't decide which is true. If I'm more afraid of what I might do or of what I might not. Seductive sense of sorrow from counterfeit cabarets in sleepy towns all over. Now you're saddled with that Cadillac heart. It's so beautiful, but is it so smart? In a city of sharks, in a city of sharks. And it's beautiful, immutable, inside your head, inside your head. Unsinkable, unthinkable. The street runs red, a violent red, inscrutable. Your conscience caught you leaving the scene. There's no knowing just how clever you've been. And it's a long way home when the voice that taunts you is your own, and your laughter is a veil of grace, hiding tears that glisten from your face. In any case, well, it's all a dream from the solitude of prison scene to the crimes of the century. Well, nothing's really ever how it seems. And do you like it like that? Thanks very much. That's off a record called Sort of Fiction. This one I'm going to play is off a record, an EP I released in May, which I have copies of with me tonight, and some other ones if you want to talk to me after the show, if there's some CD or piece of vinyl that you're looking for. I'm selling copies of Lana Del Rey's Norman fucking Rockwell that I stole from their record store. No, I'm not. This is a song about, I don't know if anyone's ever seen that movie, The Diving Bell and the Butterfly. It's an art house movie. I just say that so I sound like I'm smart. I've never seen it. I just saw the title in the Blockbuster. No, but it's about a guy who becomes paralyzed and he's trapped inside his body, and that sort of idea. I don't know why suddenly that overcame me, but I started thinking about it, and I wrote this song, which is called Rip Van Winkle, but it's spelled R.I.P. R.I.P. Van Winkle. Tap Center for Creativity, right? Most people just would have written it regular, but I had to give the record label something to complain about. Spotify's not gonna fucking catch that stuff. Pull the blinds. Can you still see the colors in my eyes? Do they dance in the prism of a light, slipping silently into that gentle night? Oh, been and gone, I'm a prisoner in this body from now on. What was once a choir is now a monologue, dusting down the dirty attic of my thoughts. Well, like the thrum of a rumor, like the hum in the space between the songs. And through the years, grinding like a pair of rusty gears, I've been sliding slow and sleeping at the wheel, oh, till my soul is repossessed and then revealed. And as the love that we're given is what life is to live in, like the bars of a prison, facing outside and in at the same time, all the time. Oh, liminal, neither fair nor foul, subliminal. It strikes me just like how the question a question never comes when it's bidden, like the ink in a sentence keeps a few secrets hidden in the lines, in the lines, in the lines. In the line. Thank you. That's on a record called Trash Talkin' at the Speed of Sound, and I have that available here tonight. This record I do not have available tonight, and this is a song on that record that I just want to tell you a little bit about. Been noticing a lot, having a lot of long conversations with my daughter about toxic masculinity and about how, you know, my dad has a huge heart. He's kind of an old softy, but he thinks what the Leafs need this year is a guy will go into the corners, drop the gloves, and beat the shit out of some guy. And so, you even have a name for him. And so I'm like, is that really what the Leafs need, Dad? Is that what they need? And just how, you know, it's sort of in the air we breathe, or that we grew up. I grew up in the East End of Toronto, very working class neighborhood, and it was, you know, pretty toxically masculine. And you can, as you looking at me, you can imagine I was probably like, I was a little shy guy and a nerd, and I was into lots of stuff that that didn't involve punching people in the face. So I grew up with that and had to sort of unwrite a lot of the stuff that hit me as I grew up. But when I was in junior high, I had a friend named Terry, and Terry was gay, and we were, best friends in school, and yada, 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 hung out. And then one day he asked me, but we had never hung out outside school, and then one day he asked me out for lunch. And because I still had all these weird toxic masculine things going on in my brain, I was like, suddenly in my mind I was going, what does he mean? What does he mean go out for lunch? Does he mean go out for lunch? Or does he mean go out for lunch? And I know they sound very similar, but there's a world of difference between the two. So I got sort of spooked and weirded out, and I said no, and I didn't go out for lunch with him. Collective hiss. Oh, Ron, you little dick. And it sort of ruined our relationship. It kind of poisoned we were still friends in school and everything, but it kind of poisoned the easy relationship we had in school. So, and then we went on. I went to a different school, and I never saw him again in my life. And then for some reason, when we came to my other band, the Inducted Assassins, came to make this record, 246, and I wrote this song. It's called Baby Fell Hard, and it was like, it's kind of an apology to Terry. I should probably find him. I mean, if only there was a way to track people down. But anyway, so this was kind of a written apology to him for being such a dick, and just to say that I hope I've grown enough to write the song. But the other thing I realized from it was that I've been carrying this around inside me for a very long time, so it feels good to sing this. It goes like this here. Well, don't you know, well, baby fell hard. You fell between the stars and the cars on Grant Street. 'Cause ain't you heard? Well, baby got burned 'cause Judas got turned by the hissing tongues of Rome. And it's hard to roam, and it's so much harder to come home when their hearts are hardened to cut stone. They're hardly alone. Oh, and did you hear? Well, babies are queer. Well, those are your words, my dear. Naked fear exposed. Ah, but can't you feel there's a change in the deal? And how can it be real that you can't bear the thought of a public place? Would it feel like a punch in the face? Would you want to set fire to this place and totally erase? Oh, don't you know, if baby falls hard, you live with the scar, though you can't see it. And can you catch that scent? The 20th century's spent. It's also irrelevant with the future coming on like a fire alarm. 5 minutes before the dawn. Or move on with your life, oh brother, just move the fuck on. On, 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 on. Last things first. Or maybe it's worse to live with the curse of your blind eyes. And first things last since you've been such an ass? Is it too much to ask that you simply apologize? Thanks very much. Oh, I feel so much better. Soul wiped clean, no problem. I should have just said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you took it the wrong way. One of those 21st century apologies. I got a time for a few more, right? Yeah? Oh, that's a sign. I don't believe in signs. My mom is a person who says, everything happens for a reason. And I love my mom, but I really hate that saying. And I got in trouble because a Los to the Low show, what I say to my mom when she says, everything happens for a reason, I go, the Holocaust? Just because I figure that'll shut it right down. Clearly that didn't happen. So I was telling this story about this song, The Eternal Fatalist, which is about a friend of mine who had he worded it differently, but he had a similar idea that all things happen for a reason. And so I was explaining this on the stage at Lee's, and I said, like the Holocaust? And the show went on and everything, and then at the end, Leslie, who was the stage manager there, came up to me and said, Ron, you have to contact a couple of people who left the show. And I was like, what? And they were like, I can't believe that Ron's become a neo-Nazi. And they left the show, and I was like, that's so weird, isn't it? And I was like, you would think that, and they were like longtime fans. I was like, that would be a weird pivot all of a sudden if I suddenly was a Nazi. But weirder things are happening. So anyway, I contacted them both and said, I think it's on me because I do this a lot, which is that I just open my mouth and say things because I think people go, oh, they know who I am. We've got a long relationship. And sometimes the mic is like, oh, Nazis, And they go, oh my God, Ron's joined the Nazis. So combination of, sound equipment at Lee's Palace. It's not as beautiful and pristine as it is here. This is a church. So I'm just gonna, if you guys see, because you'll see it in my eyes first, like Ron's about to say something stupid. If you could just flag it, just drop a glass. Probably that's what happens. Drop a glass, so I go, what's that? And I won't say the thing I'm gonna say. Or was that just one? Now I'm all in my head, I don't know. For the record, I'm not a Nazi. I've never even dressed as a Nazi for Halloween or anything like that. Weird like that. Pictures aren't going to come out, I don't think. If they are, they're photoshopped or they're deep fakes. I'm going to drop this stream of conversation right now. Hey there, tragic one. I saw your ghost in Kensington. The sly sentry of the alleyway. A wounded soldier from the battle days. It took me somewhere I haven't been for years and years. Old appetites like souvenirs. Yeah, I turned around, you disappeared into a street steeped in the silence of sweet peace and quiet. The lights never go down. 1,000 shooting stars in Chinatown, reflected in your eyes, electric blue. A kiss lingers like a deja vu. But all the lovers crash and echo under the overpass. They lie pinned beneath their memories. A million colliding destinies. I stay in the street, pierce the silence by the sweet curse the dish rag sky. We vowed to change the weather. You don't do widest eyes. I said never say never. And even though we lied, we swore we'd stay this way forever. Oh, forever. Ever, ever and ever. And is it funny how you seem just like a rumor now? A conversation that I overheard, the frail echo of a foreign word. And is it funny or sad? Sometimes we just walk away. You know, bittersweet remembrance stay. Why do you think that we do that? To defeat peace and quiet, how to cheat peace and quiet. If you don't know widest eyes, I say never say never. If you don't know widest eyes, time will change the weather. Oh, this time we'll get it right. Oh, this time we'll get it right. Thank you. I'm the guy in the band who nobody allows to choose the songs for the record. Because I had this one, I was making a record called Chemical Sounds, and myself and Mark Hansen, who was the drummer in the Rusty Nails with me, the two of us made that record. I played all the other instruments, the bass and the guitars and stuff. And we were working on all the songs, and then I said, yeah, and I got this thing. And I started singing it, and he was like, well, go home right now, cancel this rehearsal, go home and finish that song. I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, that's the best song you've ever written. And I was like, seriously? And I just I don't have any kind of perspective on that kind of stuff. It's just like, it's just another song. And then sometimes, after I got it finished and I started singing it, every now and then there will be a song where, unbeknownst to me, I don't know what's going on in the feels, but I could barely get through it without welling up the first couple times I sang it. Now I just go in the corner and punch some guy in the face. It's no problem. I've pushed it all down. I found that if I just push it all down into my groin, nobody dropped the glass. Nobody's like, okay, he's going somewhere. Anyhow, this is a song. There's a couple songs on there's a new record, Lowest to Low record coming out next week. It's out in the world right now, but it's out on October 6th, and it's called Welcome to the Plunder Dome. And it's got a song on there that I pulled out of the mists of time. I was in a band with David Alexander, the drummer, and the Low. We also had a band called Social Insecurity. And there's a song called When the Boot Comes Down, which is about the rise of the right wing and everything. And I wrote it in 1983. And we were rehearsing it and everything, and we played it. But Social Insecurity never made any records. And I was saying to somebody in an interview, I said, it's both sort of exciting to me that song could go on this record and sort of live with all the other songs, and it doesn't seem like a million years old. And incredibly depressing to me that it's still relevant, and maybe more relevant than when I wrote it. So this is another one I wrote in 1988 that might get a hearing somewhere. It's not on Welcome to the Plunderdome, but maybe the next one. I don't know. We're already halfway through the next one, so. This is called Marrow and Bone. It goes like this here. Don't let them tell you what's in your best interest. 'Cause this year's truth is last year's burning effigy. Are you gonna take your life and lay it down? Or commit some selfish act of Pontius Pilate? I remember there's no truth you can lie for, and there's no love you can buy. So don't even try now. And if you ask me 1,000 times, who will I blame tomorrow? Where will I hang my sorrow when it leaves me hollow? That's the last thing I need. I used to believe in shades of gray, in marrow and in bone. But you know it's hard, it's so hard to feel you're part of something bigger. When we're in this place alone. So tell me, why can't we be hands across the landslide? Why can't we be eyes about to open? We'll never be flesh and blood when we're stealing anger, when we're barbed wire hunger. If we're raging thunder, oh, raging, well, there's no truth you can lie for. There's no love you can buy now. Don't even try now. And if you ask me 1,000 times, who will I blame tomorrow? Where will I hang my sorrow when it leaves me hollow? Don't let them tell you what's in your best interest. Thank you. "1988, Steel Wheelchairs Tour." So I don't know if you guys know how this is going to go. I'm going to play one more song, and then there's going to be a little break. Then there's going to be an interview, and I'm going to try and stay on point. But it's going to be hard. You're going to have to help me. And then there's going to be a Q&A after that in case I don't cover everything in the interview. And I might. This is a song, I'm going to go out with this one because I wrote this one on, so as I say, the new record, Lowest of the Low record, is called Welcome to the Plunder Dome. It's not as depressing as that sounds. It's really fun. It's danceable. And this is one of my favorite ones on there. It's called On a Bad Day. And I just woke up and had this kind of going through my mind. And then I sat down, and it's one of those moments where I just started writing verses. And I had like, you know, you're going to hear there's a bunch of verses. I had like 7 other ones because I was really pissed. And the cool thing is that it was very much in the Billy Bragg style. And I sent it to Sue and said, hey, Sue, am I going to get sued by Billy Bragg, do you think? And she actually sent it to Billy Bragg. And I basically said, hey, Billy, I plagiarized you. And he wrote back, what did he write back? He said, talent borrows, genius steals. And I was like, confusing, but I think that's a stamp of approval. I think Billy's basically saying, go for it, mate. So I'll send this one out to Billy Bragg. It's called On a Bad Day. On a bad day, all I see is war and escalation. On a bad day, all I feel is sadness and frustration. And when the end of history becomes a pop sensation, it's a bad day. Yeah, on a bad day, folks have fewer rights than corporations. On a bad day, workers have to fight for liberation, for decent wages, toilet breaks, and even paid vacations. On a bad day. Now, I don't know if I believe. They tell me that the arc of history is bending in the right degree. They tell us you just wait and see. But every other day, Gilead invokes a new injunction. Even Mother's Day, on our sisters and our friends and on our lovers. So how about women taking back the means of reproduction? What do you say? Yeah, and on a bad day, I wake to find that woke is an invective. On a bad day, to dinosaurs contesting old elections, when picket fences, power and profits all had white complexions. Are the good old days. Yeah, on a bad day, we go low and they go even lower. On a bad day, justice is a grower, not a shower. And Lady Liberty's a great old gal, but you don't know her. On a bad day, yeah, and it's a sad day. Conspiracy becomes a kind of street cred. It's a bad day. The anthem of the fearful and the brain dead. Oh, those whistles only dogs can hear in certain fascist dickheads. On a bad day. Well, I don't know if I believe. They tell us that the arc of history is bending in the right degree, but we're not gonna wait and see. On any given day, you're the only thing that I have faith in. On a good day, we wake up with a sweet anticipation, and we vow to burn this old house down and build a new foundation. Yeah, maybe someday, oh, maybe one day. Thanks very much, everybody. I'm Ron Hawkins from Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Let's go. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. As Sandra said, maybe I'll do the mic. My role is can't hear it. Okay. My role is director of London Music Office. The role is really to create conditions for the industry to thrive and grow. And I think looking down Dundas today was sort of an excellent example of that. You know, we've got a great unscripted session in here, some awesome salsa music, the nights involving music with their home opener. London Music Hall has the Dirty Nail playing tonight, so just a great example of all the cool things that are happening in London. And we're a UNESCO City of Music, the only UNESCO City of Music in Canada. So it's actually really exciting to be part of this, the largest cultural network on planet Earth. And I know you have a pin now, so you can wear that, and there it is. But hey, it's not about that. Today's about Ron. And today, thank you for that. That was incredible. And I think when you can really strip things down and you can hear the song and you can talk about it and hear the meaning and the words behind it, music takes on another passion and another, it just gives you something else. So I think today we're all really treated to be here today and to hear your story. So thank you for today. It was great. It's nice.
Thank you, Gordon.
So we're going to go easy on me, and Ron's going to do a lot of the talking, which is great. He's good at this kind of thing. But I think it's important to start, we'll start at the start, you know, sort of what got you into music and, you know, where does that passion kind of come from?
Yeah, well, I was a goaltender, a hockey goaltender, and when I was young. And
a Leafs fan, too.
Yeah, Mike Palmentier fan specifically. And I was really, that's where I was heading. In my mind, I wanted to be an NHL goalie. And I was pretty good, and I played and I played and I played. But what they don't tell you when you decide, you know, what they don't tell parents is that time when you have to make the decision of what stream you're going to go in is when the hormones kick in and when all kinds of other interests happen. And so by the time I was 17 or so, I got a call up to the Marlies, to a training camp at the Marlies, and I didn't even go because I was in social insecurity, and I had started a punk rock band. And I had cool parents who had invested all these early mornings and all this time, and they didn't kill me or put me up for adoption or anything. They were like, okay, punk rock, okay. So that's what I did, and I started a band with Dave Alexander and my friend Ken from school. And I had been writing badly. I got a guitar, and I had been writing sort of bad songs and you know, and just stealing from everyone, because that's what you do at first. You just rewrite other people's songs. And then I chipped away at it for a while, and we got better at it. And then I was also a very political kid, so I thought those were two separate things. But then the punk rock thing allowed me to sort of like weave them together. And I was like, oh, I can write songs, and I can weave the politics into the songs. And that launched us, you know, into our first band.
It's cool to hear, you know, punk is where it starts, because I think it's, to me, I think same thing, grew up punk, DIY ethos, do it yourself, and no one's going to do it for you, so you better damn well do it and do a good job of it. And,
yeah.
So I think that's really cool, and I think it's important because I think it's such a powerful form of music that is really underrated, right? It's not just about being snotty, and it's really about changing things, and look where you are today, right? You built a career around that ethos, so congrats.
Yeah, and I think of it as like another form of folk music. Like I was also really into folk music, so I think of like folk music and punk rock and hip hop and all these things that are sort of from the ground up, people's music that get made in garages and in basements by kids. You know, and they don't start out in a corporate place, you know, they start out, and which is why, you know, it's gotten pretty bad in the music industry right now. And I think it's one of those things where the people who are like our record label and our agent and stuff like that, they just look at us, and it's a bit sort of like Stepford Wife. It's like, I think they know things that are going on under the hood that we don't know yet, that all of us don't know yet. And I think they're like, yeah, it's okay, everything's good. You know, because I think it is literally crumbling beneath us. This is the industry as we know it. Like you know, obviously legacy press and terrestrial radio, all those things are gone. But even just how nobody knows what's going on with Spotify numbers and shit like that. Even like the labels and stuff like that, they profess to know, but they don't know. And so I think
it comes all back to that. Like, you can never kill the DIY thing. People will make music because people need music. And if it's some kids that are just doing it in a basement or a garage, then we'll go back to that. We actually, Low Said Low, I don't know how we did it, but we're all, I'm 58 this year. We're all in the same age, and it's like we posited to our booking agent, hey, we want to do a Legion tour. Legion. We haven't done it yet, but we're fighting with our agent because he's like, that's really stupid. He's like, what do you mean? And we're like, we just want to go and play all the Legion halls in Ontario and Quebec and do these like punk rock shows like we used to do when we were kids.
Love that.
Bring in some speakers on sticks and go nuts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't like those kind of ideas.
But I like hearing that, just that like grassroots piece. And I know so many people got their starts doing that, right? And I got my start as a 14-year-old kid putting on shows, and I think we had 600 people come up to our first show, and I thought, okay, this is the job, this is the career. The next show didn't do as well, and I learned quickly this isn't a thing that I could just jump up. But to hear that people are doing that and still thinking like that old school way of getting in a space and putting a show on, it transitions a kind of bit into like a newer sound and some of the things that you're doing with the solo acoustic stuff, like side door access. I don't know if you're familiar with side door, where people are going into homes and it's like a whole system that's set up. So it comes back to that kind of like do-it-yourself ethos, which is really cool. But getting back to like what gets you inspired to write all these songs. Not only are you a musician, but you're also a painter.
Yeah.
How do you find time for all that?
I don't have a job.
It sounds like you sounds like you have a couple jobs.
Yeah, I mean, I have jobs, but I don't have a job. So, I mean, I made a decision in about 91. I remember I used to have a job. In fact, I put the drapes in the Armory Hotel here in London. It's like we go on tour and I go, yeah, I put the drapes in there. I put the drapes in there. Because for a while I was hanging drapes. For a while I was installing gas water heaters. Don't do that. Because I was like stripping, or what do you call it, like threading pipe. The pipe just comes regular and you got to thread it. You got to, this machine, you got to pour oil on it, and it's just like metal shavings and oil. You go home every night covered in metal shavings and oil, which sounds awesome, but it isn't. And so I did those jobs until 1991, and I just thought, well, okay, I either do this or I don't do it. And I knew, and I'm not putting down anybody who has a side gig, a side hustle, or who, like some people play in cover bands too to make, whatever people have to do to get by, I'm 100% into, and I think that's good. But for me, it was just like, I know myself, and I know that if I'm pulled away by anything else, I'm going to lose focus on this. So I'm going to need to just, hit it and quit it. Does that make sense? No, just using all these phrases. I don't know. But you know what I'm saying. We're just like, do it or don't do it. Is what.
Yeah. So you're all in. You're going.
It's all in, and it's been, it's like for the first, I think for the first year of Low Said Low, I was living in this house with a bunch of punk kids, and we would do I was paying like $200 a month for my room in this squat basically, and we would have, and even though I was only paying $200, we would have rent parties on the weekend. Like we would go around to all the clubs and hand out flyers. People would come to our house, and we would sell beer and have parties in our house. And the craziest shit happened. And of course, like insurance, we didn't have insurance. If somebody died in that house, it would have been really bad. But the kids in the hall used to come there, and they were at our parties a lot and stuff like that. And you can imagine what they got up to. So it was just that, and we would make one big pot of soup, and we would live on that soup all week, and just keep putting water in it or something, So we did what we had to do. But the cool thing is, and I'm not saying this works for everybody, but for me, I was just it didn't feel like struggle at all. It felt like freedom. Like it felt like threading pipe for gas water heaters felt like struggle.
Yeah.
Like being in a band all week and doing whatever I want to do all the time doesn't sound like struggle,
Yeah. And so your art was never a struggle. It flows naturally through you.
Well, I mean, it's always I'm as you might notice from the kinds of things I like to sing about. Lyrics are really important to me, and I recognize other people, like my friend John Sampson. I met him from the Weaker Thans. We became friends when they came out, and we would bond about lyrics and stuff like that. We have very different processes. He agonizes a lot more than I do, but I'm kind of agonizing in a more chill way. Like, it's really important to me.
Yeah.
So if it's not right, it sits until it's right,
I had a question about jumping forward, John K. Sampson, and the tribute record. Was very cool. Tell me a little bit about that. I don't know if people are familiar with the Weaker Thans or.
Yeah, we got contacted that this record was happening, and the first thing that popped into my mind. This does happen to me, which is weird, and I can't explain it, which is that I woke up with the horn section for the version of Pamphleteer is my favorite Weaker Than song. And so I had this horn, I woke up with this horn section in my head for Pamphleteer when we knew we were going to do this. And then I was like, oh, and it's totally I can double down here because it's a ska version, and John will hate that. So it's partially like, oh, John's going to hate this, and it'll be sort of like one of those. It'll be like a backhanded honor. Like we'll cover it. It's my favorite song, and he'll think, and now you shat on it, and turning it into a ska song. But
and it sticks out on that record too, right? Because of that. Like
yeah, there's like, well, this my partner Jill and I have this real thing about people covering songs, and then they cover them. They sound exactly like the original version. It's like, why would you
sounds
do that?
worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Took a good song and made it worse, right?
Yeah. Like if you're not going to do something and take it somewhere else, like don't do it.
Yeah, that's very cool. That's an incredible record. Actually, Charlie Weber, who's a local artist, is on that as well. So, the new record. You're talking about the new record, and
Yeah.
I put my foot in my mouth immediately when we talked yesterday. I wasn't familiar with as much of the horns, right? And so, yeah, immediately we started talking. I put my foot in my mouth right away, saying, different take. You got some ska stuff going on. That's pretty cool. And you're like, we always have. So that was kind of really an interesting piece. But you told me a little bit about the legitimizers.
Yeah, so we have so a lot of you will know this, but we have a horn section that comes out on certain records and comes out and plays with us live. And I christened them the legitimizers because I was like, it doesn't matter how badly we screw up. If the horns are playing, it sounds like legitimate music. Like, it's so good. We just had a rehearsal with them on Monday, and it's like, well, it's all we can do to keep playing because we just have such big shit-eating grins on our face because it sounds so great. So yeah, they came together, and not so much that you put your foot in your mouth. It's that, who would possibly know the history of my bands before Lowest to the Low? Like, nobody knows unless I tell them. But I was just telling Corey that when Agitpop came out and there was like some ska stuff and there was some horn things, and some people were like, oh, yeah, that's cool that you guys are, treading some new ground or whatever. And I was like, well, we're just kind of going full circle to Popular Front, which was the band before the Lowest of the Low had a horn section and a Latin percussion section, and we did this big sort of world beat kind of things and ska things and stuff like that. So we're kind of just bringing that part home. And I found that in COVID, because we couldn't play shows, I was just doing visual art all the time, and all I listened to was, blue beat and ska and stuff like that. I was just going back to the kind of comfort food when I was a teenager. I listened to a lot of it, and so it was kind of like a warm blanket.
Nice.
A skanky blanket.
A skanky blanket. So you're talking about COVID. Things seems like a thing we can't escape these days, and a conversation we can't escape. But you really did something pretty incredible with that, and a bit of a nod to being Canadian. Yeah,
it was fun. Like COVID was fun. COVID, I think it's fun.
There's the quote.
When COVID started to happen, and we all started to go, "Oh, wow! Like this is some serious shit happening here," and we're all sort of shut down, and we can't really do our thing. And it's funny because it was the first time. Though I've been a very political creature all my life, I think I was naive to the point where I started to see things on the internet. The first guy I saw he posted something that said, never in the history of the world has someone been so hell-bent on becoming a dictator. And it was a picture of Justin Trudeau, and I was like, what? And I was like, he said that Canada is now officially a communist country. And so, like an idiot, I replied to him, and I put a picture of the Communist Manifesto, and I said, hey, dude, I think you need to read this. And he was like, oh, Ron, I've read it. And he said, I've been in Siberia. I saw people lie down in front of tanks to defend their freedom. And I was like, which is why I'm the more confused that you're, confusing this frat boy with Paul Pot or something. But anyway, so I went back and I kept it up, and I was like, surely this guy's just misinformed and all, And then I realized that, oh no, like these are the opening salvos of people being locked in their house and becoming crazy, Yeah. And so one thing that we lost was all the music stuff, and I thought, well, I saw people doing live streams and everything, and for about a month I was trying to do it and sort of test driving it and everything, but it sounded so shitty. Like Facebook sounded shitty, or I didn't have the technology down, and I was like, I don't want to do it if it sounds like this, It's like I'm not usually very precious about it, but I was like, I don't want to do it like this. But then I finally worked it out, and then for a year and a half, I think it was, a lot of you guys were there, we did something called Tommy Douglas Tuesdays, and it was named after Tommy Douglas because I was like, God, I'm glad I live in a country with socialized medicine, and it was cool because all of you people amongst the group, like we've been so blessed to have this community that we've created. Not just about music, but it's really just a kind of a tribe that we've built up together, and we've been together for decades, some of us, and some of us, just recently, but everybody comes with the same kind of ethos, I think, which is that we're all here together for each other. And so when I started doing these things and I saw everybody, making jokes with each other on the chat line, and I would say something live, and then Lawrence would be on the chat line correcting me because he always corrects my dates and whatever, my grammar, and it just warmed my heart, and then suddenly everybody was hitting me with, Ron, you got to start a Patreon account. Ron, where's the tip jar? We want to hit you with some money. And I was like, weirdly, I was like, I don't know how this is the case. I'm an independent musician, but I'm good. I'm fine, right? Oh, the dictator is sending me $2,000 a month to live. So I was like, I said, so, in lieu of sending it to me, I decided to start holding up these cardboard signs that, like, you could send stuff here, like for PPE and different things, and that became a cool thing. And then my partner Jill was sitting at the dining room table just off camera, and she started yelling things into the show, and then I would be interacting with her, and then you guys couldn't even see this, but like my computer is here and the mics and everything, my cats would walk by and I would be playing and I'd watch my cat walk over by the door and just pee in front of the door. So all kinds of crazy shit was happening in my house. And it became like a variety show. And I think even any of you guys who know my friend Steve Singh, it's like we were 20 minutes into a show and the phone rings and Jill answers it while the show's going on. And she goes, it's Steve. He wants to know when the show's starting. And I'm looking at the screen. I'm like, Steve, the show is on right now. Don't call back in the next hour and a half. So it was just a kind of a thing where it became like a variety show. And I was like, when it finished, I was like, wow, I miss it. And I don't know how to replace it because even doing something like this, coming and playing a solo show, it's not quite the same as this thing that had developed where it was like, I didn't really know what was going to happen that day, and I'm holding up my stupid signs, and and I had my little noise effect applause. And it was just very, very cool. But just to say it was important to me, it was a hard point not to monetize it because I just saw everybody doing monetized live streams, and I thought that was cool and everything, but I didn't really need it, and I wanted to sort of say thanks to the community that's been, like you guys have reached into your pockets for decades. You didn't need to do it for the Tommy Douglas Tuesdays. So.
It's very admirable. It's cool. Did that sort of spark then, combined with your, your background, sort of do it yourself? Is that kind of a big piece of how that all came to be, though, too? Is that you were talking to that network, feeding that network, and does it cycle back then to like your next record too, kind of like producing it on your own? Your first
the whole band.
Self-produced record, right?
Yeah, well, it's my friend Kathleen always says, like, I don't know if this is a good thing about you or a bad thing about you, but you have no sense of like, maybe I'm not qualified to do this. You just launch in. And one of the things I did, I was like renovating the front of my house, and I built, I sort of cedar shingled the front of the house, and then I built the fence around it. And my friend is a carpenter, and he said, "Oh, it looks great. You did a great job." He said, "So how did you?" He was talking about what are they called? Clamps. He said, "Oh, you know something about clamps?" I said, "What are clamps?" And he goes, "What are clamps?" He goes, "How did you hold that stuff up?" I said, "Well, I held it up with my leg and I screwed it in like this." And he's like, "I'm gonna change your life right now, dude. Like, clamps." So my friend Kathleen's saying, like, you do a lot of stuff, whether it's art or not. It's like, you just rush in and go, like, well, how hard can it be? And start doing it. And during COVID as well, like my band, the Inducted Assassins, needed a video. We released a record digitally, but we needed a video. And it was like, well, we can't get the band together. We can't do this, can't do that. But my daughter has an iPad that has stop motion on it. So I thought, I'll make a stop motion video for the band. Because when I was a little nerd, I used to make them on a Super 8 camera, which she's amazed at. I'm like, yeah, and you used to shoot it, and then you send the film away. And she goes, send the film away? And I said,
to who?
She goes, where? What do you mean? And I'm like, you have to send it off, and it gets developed, and 3 weeks later it comes back, and you go, oh, that's all crap. Nothing worked, like none of this, like instant, But her iPad was amazing because I could just sort of rock everything, and if there were frames you didn't like, you could just delete them. So it's still incredibly time consuming, but the same thing there. I was like, oh, well, we can't do this, so let's do this,
Yeah. And so how does that lead to then self-producing your record? Is the same kind of idea? Just, I can do this.
Yeah, I mean, I've produced lots of records for other people and everything, and everybody in the band has done different kinds of production work. But our last record, we had Dave Bottrell, who's like a world class. He worked with Peter Gabriel, he worked with Tool, and so we did that, and that was lovely. And David's an amazing guy, and we had a great time. But we just started. I think we just started like, I don't know whose idea it was, but we have a rehearsal space in a place called Green Door, which is a guy who used to be in a band called 13 Engines, John Critchley. So we rehearsed there every Monday, and we thought, well, maybe we'll just record the drums and bass here, and then we all have little studios in our house. I'll do my vocals and guitars, and we just started doing it. It sounded so great that I don't want to put down Bottrell or any of these guys that we've worked with in the past, but there's something to be said for the kind of band we are, to just get out of our own way and just keep it simple. You know, I always used to talk about those old Nick Lowe records, like, hey, a drum kit and a bass, there's a guitar, there's some vocals, and it's a pop song, you know, like, here we go. Yeah. But then you get in a studio, these big studios, and it's like, but what if there were 6 guitars over here and 20 guitars over there? And you just get carried away, whereas we took that out of the loop and
simplify it and strip it back, and you went back to your roots, which is really cool.
Yeah, and it really fits the group of songs that we had too. So
yeah, and speaking to your roots, DIY, we're in London. There is still a pole in front of you here, so it takes you kind of back to Call the Office in that sense, right? Or I was thinking that as we were looking, I took a photo and I was like, yeah, it's like we're at Call the Office, like all over again. It's a little more lit. Anyways, London. You've been in London. You played a lot. You're playing here next week. The record comes out next week. Tell us a little bit about some of your ties to London or your connection to London.
Yeah, we've had amazing history here for decades. Like, the Spoke, like that was a huge stop on our way, going across Canada and back a million times. Yeah. And those shows, the kids at the University Row, those were crazy, crazy shows. We had a point where our road manager, John, he's built like a little wrestler. He used to come on stage because the mosh pit was so crazy, and then people were getting up on stage and stage diving. He got up and would grab kids by the belt loop and by the scruff of the neck and throw them into the crowd. And I think it was the time we were at the Spoke, and it's like, and he'd been doing this regularly, and then he decided to throw this kid, and the crowd just kind of parted, and he threw the kid at the floor. And the kid hit the floor, and I was like, and I'm singing, and I'm thinking, well, that's the rest of the money for the rest of our career will be, to take care of this kid, to spoon feed this kid, because he's had a, spinal injury for sure. And the kid just got up and went into the crowd. And then again, like my daughter's very much a Gen Zer in some ways, and she's like, and what happened? What do you think happened to him? I'm like, I don't know. We moved on to the next show in the next town. Like, he was drunk. Nothing could happen to him. He was
invincible.
Yeah, but that kind of stuff happens here, and like countless amazing and crazy shows at Call the Office. And as you say, like the first time we played there, I feel like there was the full 3 rooms thing. You were playing to 3 sort of separate rooms, and it went so weirdly. And then we had a big long drought where we didn't play Call the Office, and I remember the band room there was disgusting. And it was maybe the most penises I've ever seen drawn on a wall or at Call the Office, because that's
on the second floor there. Yeah.
Yeah, Simon's always joking about if you can't draw a crowd, draw a penis. That's his joke. So and then we came back like this, maybe a 10 or 15 year drought, and I had heard that they'd changed some things at Call the Office, and it was blah blah blah. And we got there, we went into the dressing room, and it was like, no, they didn't change the dressing room at all. Like it's exactly the same. Yeah.
So yeah, having played markets like London, it's an important market, right? It's an important market to play.
So UNESCO
City of Music. There we go. You heard it. I think one of the things that's sort of trying to get at here is that the importance of these secondary markets, right, where events like this can take place, and you can have these intimate get-togethers kind of thing. But also with some of the shows that you're playing some pretty cool markets that you wouldn't think you'd see a band of your stature playing. So I think it's really cool that you're doing that. But I don't know if there's a question there, if it's more of a statement. But I think it's really neat to see you in some of these markets. What do they mean to you, like as a Canadian touring artist?
Yeah, well, it all comes back to, like I'm saying, about whether it's the Tommy Douglas Tuesdays or whether it's, we started busking, like when I was probably 17 or 18, we started out busking. So we did a lot of just playing in the street. And that one thing that does for you is it gives you a thick skin because people, can suck sometimes. And, but it also makes you fast on your feet to kind of deal with whatever happens. You got to react, right? Something goes wrong, you got to deal with it. And it reminds me of like when I was playing a show with my band, the Rusty Nails, in Vancouver, and I was very cognizant of how much everybody hates Toronto, but especially Vancouver. And I think we were opening for Spirit of the West, and nobody was paying attention to my band. They were just literally waiting for Spirit of the West. So my busking instincts kicked in, and I said, "Hey Vancouver, don't hate us because we're beautiful and we're from Toronto." And so there was a hail of drinks at us, and we launched and everything. And Lawrence came over to me and he's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "Well, they're paying attention now, right?" And so that's my thing, is that you either got to charm them or like poke them in the eye.
Get a bit of both on that one, it sounds like. Yeah.
So to me, so this was a long way around to like, in a way, there are no secondary markets because we just hit a venue or a town or whatever it is. It's all the same to us. It's like it's a bunch of people who came to see us play, or some people that we have to charm into watching us play or whatever. But the job is always the same. It's like
same job, same music.
Bring the music to the people. And
so being from Toronto or even from Canada, how have you seen things change in the past couple of years? Positive, negative? Like, what does it look like as a touring artist?
Well, the positive and negative is that for maybe, I don't know how many years, but I was always railing against the gatekeepers and, it's fucking capitalist gatekeepers that funnel everything onto the radio and blah, blah, blah. Someday there's going to be democracy in the arts world. And then the internet came and I was like, oh, shit. Now there's 10 million bands trying to get their releases out all the time, every week, and it's near impossible to sort of cut through the white noise. So though I love the democracy of the internet and the way kids can, I'm still as immature as I always was. Like again, my daughter is of a generation where they have access to all the music in the world, and so they like mature people, they choose what they like from every genre. And I'm just hearing things. I'm like, no, you can't. You can't listen to the Dead Kennedys and Tears for Fears. Like, you cannot do that.
Yeah,
Probably something will happen. You'll get whiplash or something will happen. But I know you can't do that.
So do you see being a Canadian right now in music? Are there unique challenges in Canada? Are there unique benefits?
Hell's yeah. Not so much for us. Like this is the thing. Is like I'm in a position, in a very unique position, I think. And I don't really know how I got here, but like sticking to what we wanted to do, pushing our way through, and having some big success completely due to people like The Edge and Dave Bookman and Elliot Lefko, all these promoters that helped us out in the early days. So we have a career, but and again, I harken back to the $200 a month apartment and all that stuff that you could do in Toronto. You could at that time you could get a 7,000 square foot warehouse space with a bunch of your friends, and you could. One of your friends paints and your band jams there and and then you throw parties and you make some money, and all that stuff is gone. Like it's like there's nothing like that in Toronto. I don't know if there's still stuff like that in London, but there's zero thing. Like in 1983, David and I went into this factory space because we were part of like a pirate radio station. Like I feel like I'm lying. But we were part of a pirate radio station, this punk rock zine called F Noise. And we hijacked a frequency, and we had a pirate radio station. And
it's a whole story right there on that.
Yeah, it's crazy that stuff is gone. And I don't know, like we have lots of friends who are 22, 25-year-olds in bands. And I literally, it's magic. I don't know how they do it. You want to talk about struggling. Like nowadays, it's crazy, I think I saw a meme on Facebook about a millennial being on Wheel of Fortune, and they're like, I'd like to buy a vowel. And they're like, you're a millennial. And they're like, I'd like to rent a vowel. And it really is like that. Like there's nowhere in Toronto to just plop down your gear in your tent and just be an artist, Yeah.
Well, I think we're at time. I want to leave some time for some questions from the audience too. So I don't know, do you want to just, how do we want to do this? Just jump up maybe, or sorry, I don't know.
Slowly rise.
Slowly rise. We have the first person rising. Yeah.
I love her songs, and I have listened so much to so many of the changes multi-instrumentalist, etc. So Ontario, I wonder what the story is behind that. It makes me think about lost relatives, etc. I wonder what the story is.
Yeah, I think it's just, I think I wrote that song, there's a song called South Ontario, and it's, I wanted to capture the feeling of that sort of strip mall, like that's outside of every, I've toured country a lot with the band, and it's like the perimeter of every city in Canada. It's like if I was asleep and I woke up in the van and I didn't know what city we were in the night before, there's no way I would be able to tell, because they all look exactly the same, sort of like slightly run down, but trying to make a go of it, strip malls. And so there was some of that in that, the sadness, the melancholy of that sprawl, that kind of city sprawl, and then just people trying to find things like romance, trying to find magic there, like people do, like they find magic, but I don't know how, I don't know how we do it. I mean, like all of you wonderful people here, I'm sure your lives are full of little magic moments. And mine are, like, one of the things about, often people will ask me how I write songs and stuff like that, and I always say, like, I don't know how it happens, I know that I can do it, and I don't know how it happens, and I don't want to spend any time trying to figure out why it happens, because it's one of the major pieces of magic in my life, is to not know, So I think that song was a bit about that, like, how do people get through and still make their lives?
The dirt road, just the dirt road off of the
Right.
yeah. And by the way, we saw you in the basement of London Music Club with Liz Strickland.
Oh, yeah,
And there's only like 10 people there max.
right.
It was one of our highlights of the best ever shows.
Oh, thanks. Well, that's a loss, right? Call the Office, London Music Club, like, it's happening everywhere,
Yeah, that's a tough one. Oh, next question.
I know on, sure, might get up. If it reaches it, here, I'll stand up. Much easier, you'll just hear my voice anyway, probably. So, on Can't Be Love, I know that you have lyrics on there. There's a lyric credit for your daughter. How did that come about? How did you go about doing that?
Well, that's actually not my daughter. That's a woman named Britta B.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I thought there was...
No, she's somebody I met through the Sky Wallace band, who we'd done a bunch of shows with, and I had written that song, and it was kind of, it was a bit of an outlier for me. It was I wanted to mess with some synths and some beats and stuff like that, and so that came up, and then there was that spot where there was going to be, a spoken word thing, a rap thing, or whatever, and I had something that I did, and then I was, ticklish like everybody. I was like, yeah, I'm kind of rapping on this one. And my friends were like, you're come again? You're what? And then I showed some people, and a couple of my friends were like, actually, your flow's pretty good. But I was like, yeah, but that's not going to go on the final record. And then they showed me some clips of Britta, who is actually more a spoken word artist than a rapper, but and her stuff is amazing. And it was a kind of a cool thing, because I said to her, listen, this is vaguely, I don't have the lyrics written yet, but this is vaguely what it's about. And I said the little rap thing that I started to write was kind of dealing with the Harvey Weinstein thing and hashtag Me Too. And I said, I'm sure you've probably got some things to say about that, but I said, why don't you write the spoken word thing, and then I'll reverse engineer the lyrics from what it is that you write to keep them consistent and everything. But she was fantastic and fast. Holy shit.
Thank you.
Next question. We got one in the back, too.
I just want to ask how the Peace and Quiet Tim Thompson thing came together, because that was a surprise for me as a Maple Leaf fan, and all of a sudden to see you and your music there in that. And,
Yeah.
How'd that come about?
Well, so for anybody who doesn't know, the song Peace and Quiet, from a record called Garden Songs, it wound up on a video montage. I think it's called The Maple Leafs Forever. Is it called The Maple Leafs Forever? That a friend of mine made, because he used to do these bumpers for Hockey Night in Canada, which were like little, they were maybe like a minute and a half before Hockey Night in Canada would happen, and he often used Canadian indie rock musicians like Cuff the Duke and different people like that. And he's got a real magical sense of editing to music. So he had all these little bumpers at the beginning of Hockey Night Canada. They were very, very popular. And then whatever happened there with TSN or Hockey Night Canada, I don't know if something switched hands. And so I went out for lunch with him one time, and he said he got called up to the office, and they called him in. They said, "Tim, you know those bumpers you do before the games?" And he's like, "Yeah." And they're like, "We're not going to do them anymore. We think they're stupid." And I was like, wow, like they probably spitballed a few ways to say that. That was the one they came up with. We think they're stupid. And so he, got a bad taste in his mouth about that. But then suddenly, like, the Habs called him to do something about Jean Beliveau, and then the Bruins called him to do something. So he's because they were very popular. And I feel like it was just like new management putting their own stamp on something. They just wanted to make a change for whatever reason. So then he came to me and he said, "Hey, I want to do this thing with Peace and Quiet." And I said, like, "You don't even have to finish the sentence, just do what you want to do because I trust you." And he made this thing about, and I guess the song and the video dovetailed because the sense of the video is like, this time we'll get it right. Maybe the Leafs will get out of the first round this year. And it was perfect. And so for about 5 or 6 years, they used it. The Leafs used it, and it was on every Saturday night. I would get a phone call, "Hey, buddy, check it out." And I'm like, yeah, I know. It's on every week. And the craziest one was when I think maybe 3 years ago, they hadn't used it all year, and I was like, oh, I guess that's done. And then I was just about to go on stage at this climate benefit, and my phone in my pocket, and it keeps ringing. I pick it up, and it's Hockey Night in Canada. They're like, "Ron, we need the green light. It's Game 7 tonight. We need the green light to use the Peace and Quiet thing tonight." And I'm like, who is that? I'm just about to go on stage. I can't talk about this. They're like, "There's 2 free tickets in it for you, and we'll pay you for the year, what we would normally pay you." And I'm like, giddy up. And I went on and did my thing, and then we went and watched them lose in Game 7. But but that's how that came together. And it was funny because also I was getting all these interviews. The Globe and Mail called me, and lots of hockey papers and stuff called me, and they wanted to interview me. And so we would talk about, I had to sort of bullshit that it was about hockey, because it's not. It's about Kensington Market in Toronto. And so I would go, like stretch the metaphor, do whatever. But then at a certain point, I would start talking about when I played hockey, and I would start talking about toxic masculinity and how goalies are different than these other Neanderthals. And they'd go, I think we got enough, So.
I think we had a question in the back there, too. Did you, sorry.
I think I might have an answer, but I'm not sure.
Good answer.
Long-time listener, first-time caller. So, understanding that in your youth you were a great hockey player growing up, and when did you start playing guitar, and when did you realize at that moment, like, was there a breaking point for you? Like, was it just a game for you, or just like a really good guitar player, or was there a point where you went, I'm really fucking good at this, and I'm gonna make this my thing?
Yeah, well, I think I picked it up. I think I picked it up when I was 15, maybe. And I think I picked it up for the stupid reason that everybody else picks it up, which is like girls like guys who play guitars. And I started learning some Beatles songs and stuff like that. And I think in a very short time, when I started writing songs, I was like, I'm awesome. And it was like, but then I realized that it was like this thing that you do when you're young is like you kind of fake it to make it. You sort of puff your chest out and you have all this bravado that isn't real. It wasn't coming from my soul, it was coming from my head. And I always feel like that's kind of like the jet fuel that gets you through the tough starting points until you start to get some humility about what a crappy guitar player you actually are, and how, wow, there's only my girlfriend is at the show,
Again.
That's a new record. So, and then I think you go through a process, if you get to do it long enough, probably just like life, is that, when you're young, and rightfully so, you have to have broader shoulders, and you have to be able to, if you're going to make it through this life, you have to be able to believe you can slay the dragon, right? And then you realize that halfway through that the dragon is actually in you, and you have to defeat your own preconceived notions about what you need to be, and as I was saying before, whether it's toxic masculinity, whether it's a bunch of white people in a society like ours that freak out if you start talking about racism because they don't want to think that though they grew up in a racist society that there's any chance they have any little shreds of racism in them. It's like better to just face those things head on right away and be a curious, good person, and and we'll all move into the future together. But
So there was a level of conquering fear involved with that.
yeah, except I don't think I knew I was conquering fear. I think I just thought I was farting around. And that I was pretty impressed with myself for a while, and then but then if you're in it for a while, you just like anything, you just grow and you learn more about it, and then the horizons hopefully. And again, this is a thing I like to think of myself even as just as a person or anybody in your life. Just stay curious all your life, and what you'll notice is that more and more doors open. It's like an apartment in Brooklyn. You go in there and you go, hey, there's a room in here. What? There's a room in here? You just keep going through rooms, and everywhere you go, there's more opportunities. So that's one way to do it, or the other way is just to bitch a lot and all the doors close in your face. Your choice.
Yes, I was here last night with a bunch of people. We had a great time. Thank you for being so honest and open and raw. And yeah, it was great that Simon, this DIY guy, same thing, right? I'm just going to do this. I'm going to give it a try. What the hell? And then it was just so perfect, right? Anyway, really enjoyed it. But I was thinking, why? Like, how is it possible 30 plus years? So you're talking tonight, and I'm thinking, okay, so piss and vinegar, check. We're good. But the thing that I really think is that it's about your lyrics. You have these lyrical hooks, right? Like, every time you start a song, you pull me in, and I want to know what happened. I just, I want to know. And the newer stuff, like more waterboards, more corporate lords, and then we all drown. I was like, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. You said it.
Yeah, no, I know. I won't remember it,
but so these little bits and pieces just float around in my head and all the time. Like you were so young when you wrote that the shadows that you walk around will still be there when the sun goes down, and that little thing has been in my head ever since. So there's a question, I promise. Do you have a set of lyrics or just some catchphrase that you found that is like maybe your favorite, or do they just wash over you like waves?
Of my own, you mean? Or?
Yeah, of yours.
This happens a lot, which is often it's the newest record we've made I'm the most jazzed about, but this will happen a lot, which is that I'll write something like, in that song I opened with, Brave New World, this brave new world is full of cowards and liars, of Holocaust deniers, and that'll come out and I'll go, that's good, and I like it, but I'll feel like, is it too much? Like sometimes I have to bounce it off somebody else and go, I probably did when we had Rosie and Gray, and it's like, kissed you in France, kissed you in Spain, kissed you in places I better not name, seen the sun go down on Sacré-Cœur, but I like it much better going down on you, right? Ha ha ha, very funny. But I said back that in those days, some of the politics for us were like, we wanted to put little Easter eggs in our songs to say, that one specifically, this one's for the ladies, we're feminists and we know where the buttons are. It's like, that's important to us. You know what I'm saying? Like a little
You
thing
meant
like
that metaphorically.
Yeah, but I'm saying like, it's important for us to put these little Easter eggs in there, almost like, I guess they're reverse dog whistles, or they're liberal, they're leftist dog whistles. I want to tell the people that think about the kind of world that I would want to live in, we see you and we hear you, and we want you to see and hear us. So I'm happy when those things happen, but I recognize that those kind of things are smarty pants things, and they're not necessarily, like if I have a problem, I struggle that you would not believe me, like we used to do a lot of LSD, and it's like, I must be insufferable when I'm on LSD, because in a day-to-day thing, I'm like finding I'm trying to find like connections with words and stuff like that, and I make all kinds of puns and everything. My daughter is like, oh my God, can somebody shut him off? But so that is already working in my head. So, but that stuff is the kind of more smarty pants stuff, and it's like when I get something that hits me here or comes out of here, like I was saying about Peace and Quiet, the first few times I sang it, there was something about the vibration of certain chords or something, or maybe it was certain words that I would actually well up when I was singing it. And it's like, well, I wrote it. Why am I welling up singing it? But it's like because I recognize that those ones are truer in a different way. They're truer because they come from here, and it's not me coming up with a clever line, you know? So yeah, I don't know. It just, and again, I have no idea how it happens or why I can do it. I have a grade 13 education when you still went to grade 13 in Ontario. Didn't go to post-secondary. So it's like I'm just an autodidact, and that kind of stuff is important to me. And my heart was broken when I was in the van with the Dugan Assassins once, and Alex McMaster, she's the cello player in a band. First of all, she plays the cello. And I said something, she said, yeah, I don't know, I don't really listen to lyrics. And I was like, but you wear glasses. Like, you're supposed to be smart, and you play the cello. You have to care about words. She's like, I don't know. Yeah. So there's people out there that don't really care, and maybe they like a good lyric, but they don't really care. It's like they want to be moved and grooved, and that's cool too.
Well, you just answered part 2 of my question.
Oh.
So, thank you very much.
Yeah, cheers. Have I worn you guys out yet?
I don't know, Mike. So, who inspires you for lyrics, especially? Because that's part of it, especially. Like, I'm thinking like Jason Isbell tell stories. You tell more elliptical stories. I'm wondering what.
I don't know what that means, but yeah, I take it where I can get it. It's like I have some real bedrock ones, which are like, I grew up being a huge Clash fan, so I like Joe Strummer's lyrics a lot. Though, I'm of the generation where we were covering some of those songs back then, and I found out later, that's not what he's singing at all, right? Because there was nowhere to find out the lyrics. So those guys, Billy Bragg is, when I first discovered Billy Bragg, I was like, wow, you can do that. You know what I mean? That's like some great artists when you discover them, it's that thing of like a great tennis player or something. It's like it's in there. You kind of knew you could do that, but you need to see somebody do it. It's like Truth and Reconciliation. It's like like when you start to see people who look like you and sound like you and have your culture on television in movies. It doesn't seem like a huge thing, but it's massive. It's like suddenly you realize, I'm seen, or I can see that. It makes sense to me. And Billy Bragg was one of those. But it's like right up today, like the new Olivia Rodrigo record has amazing lyrics on it. There's one on the last record, on the Sour record, which again sort of makes me well up. John Sampson is a guy who I have always said I think if he's not the greatest lyricist in the world, he's the greatest lyricist in Canada for sure. And what I love about his lyrics is that, I'm not a shrinking violet. I know that I write really good lyrics, but I listen to his lyrics and my lyrics, and we have different styles of writing, and I won't be able to quote the whole thing, but it's the one about you let that stranger in, I am a broken line of Christmas lights. The way he writes this stanza, he sort of sets it up here, and then he goes away from the idea for a second, and then he comes back to it and wraps it up at the end. And the kind of architecture of that is just beyond me. I don't think I can do that, but I love to see him do it. And then I think I have my strengths, and we're very different, and he likes my lyrics. And so it's kind of cool that you can live in a world where there are, again, so many options, so many flavors. What pairs nicely with a John Sampson lyric?
It's hard to wrap up the night, I get it, but
are there any songs that you've just like played or heard so much that you don't like playing them anymore?
No, I kind of went through a cycle where when Lowest of the Low broke up, it was like, as I say, we had a couple of bands, and Social Insecurity was one kind of thing, and Popular Front was another kind of thing, and they had different levels of success. And then Lowest of the Low blew up, and we didn't really expect it to blow up like that and weren't prepared to deal with it. And it was only 4 years, so it was like very quick. And then I started a band after that called the Rusty Nails. And every show we went to, people were yelling out for Low songs. And I was like, I literally started like playing, you know, putting on this accent and going, "We're not a fucking jukebox," you know, because I was so pissed. And it's like, you know, of course, like, you know, it's one of those things where, of course, people were yelling out for songs that you wrote. You wrote them. It's your fault. And they want to hear them. But it was like, it's a new band, so of course I want to get the new band off the ground. And then what happened, which was cool, was by 2000, the Lowest Low had their first reunion. And when I was on stage with Lowest Low, some people were yelling out for Rusty Nails songs, and I was like, boom, snap. And then I sort of chilled out. And so now, like, I've been doing all of them for so long, and there's so many songs. Like, one of the things I did on Tommy Tuesday, because I was beating my chest and being a toxic masculine songwriter, was like, I'm not going to play any song twice until I've played them all. And so I played all the songs I've ever written, and it was like 228 songs or something over a period of time. So once you've written that many songs, it's hard to hate any of them. It's like if you had 228 children. If you have 4 children, you're going to hate one of them. But if you have 228 children, how are you going to keep track of that? You got to love. The only answer is to love them all. Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much for having me.